The North American F-82 Twin Mustang was the last American piston-engine fighter ordered into production by the United States Air Force. Based on the P-51 Mustang, the F-82 was originally designed as a long-range escort fighter in World War II. The war ended well before the first production units were operational. In the post-war era, Strategic Air Command used the planes as a long-range escort fighter. Radar-equipped F-82s were used extensively by the Air Defense Command as replacements for the Northrop P-61 Black Widow as all-weather day/night interceptors. During the Korean War, Japan-based F-82s were among the first U.S. Air Force aircraft to operate over Korea. The first 3 North Korean aircraft destroyed by U.S. forces were shot down by F-82s, the first being a North Korean Yak-11 downed over Gimpo Airfield by the U.S. Air Force 68th Fighter Squadron. Design and development. Initially intended as a very long-range, VLR, escort fighter, the F-82 was designed to escort Boeing B-29 Superfortress bombers on missions exceeding 2,000 miles, 3,200 kilometers, from the Solomon Islands or Philippines to Tokyo, missions beyond the range of the Lockheed P-38 Lightning and conventional P-51 Mustangs. Such missions were part of the planned U.S. invasion of the Japanese home islands, which was forestalled by the surrender of Japan after the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki and the opening of Soviet attacks on Japanese-held territory in Manchuria. In October 1943, the North American Aircraft Design Team began work on a fighter design that could travel over 2,000 miles, 3,200 kilometers, without refueling. It consisted of a twin fuselage design, somewhat similar to the experimental German Messerschmitt Bf-109 Zwilling. Although based on the lightweight experimental XP-51F, which would later become the P-51H Mustang, it was actually a new design. North American design chief Edgar Schmude incorporated 2 P-51H Mustang fuselages lengthened by the addition of a 57-in, 145 cm, fuselage plug located behind the cockpit where additional fuel tanks and equipment could be installed. These were mounted to a newly designed center wing section containing the same 6.50 caliber M3 Browning machine guns as a single-engine Mustang, but with more concentrated fire. The first XP-82 prototype, S/N44-83886, was equipped with a removable center-line gun pod housing 8 additional .50 caliber M3 Brownings, but this did not feature on production aircraft. An even more powerful center-line gun pod containing a 40 mm cannon was considered, but was never built. The outer wings were reinforced to allow the addition of hard points for carrying additional fuel or 1,000 pounds, 450 kilograms, of ordnance. The 2 vertical tails were also from the XP-51F, but incorporated large dorsal fillets for added stability in case of an engine failure. The aircraft had a conventional landing gear with both wheels retracting into bays under each fuselage center section. The XP-82 was to be powered by 2 Packard-built Rolls-Royce V1650 Merlin engines. Initially, the left engine was a V1650-23 with a gear reduction box to allow the left propeller to turn opposite to the right propeller, which was driven by the more conventional V1650-25. In this arrangement both propellers would turn upward as they approached the center wing, which in theory would have allowed better single-engine control. This proved not to be the case when the aircraft refused to become airborne during its first flight attempt. After a month of work, North American engineers finally discovered that rotating the propellers to meet in the center on their upward turn created sufficient drag to cancel out all lift from the center wing section, 1/4 of the aircraft's total wing surface area. The engines and propellers were then exchanged, with their rotation meeting on the downward turn, and the problem was fully solved. The first XP-82 prototype, 44-83886, was completed on May 25, 1945, and made the type's first successful flight on June 26, 1945. This aircraft was accepted by the Army Air Forces on August 30, 1945, whose officials were so impressed by the aircraft, while still in development, that they ordered the first production P-82BS in March 1945, fully 3 months before its first flight. The XP-82 prototypes, and production P-82BS and P-82ES, retained both fully equipped cockpits so that pilots could fly the aircraft from either position, alternating control on long flights, while later night fighter versions kept the cockpit on the left side only, placing the radar operator in the right position. Although some P-82B airframes were completed before the end of World War II, most remained at the North American factory in California waiting for engines until 1946. As a result, none saw service during the war. Like several versions of the P-51 Mustang, the first two prototype XP-82S as well as the next 20 P-82B models were powered by British-designed Rolls-Royce Merlin engines, built under license by Packard. These provided the fighter with excellent range and performance. However, the Army had always wanted to give the twin Mustang a purely American and stronger engine than the foreign-designed P-51S V1650, built at Packard plants, dismantled after the war. In addition, the licensing costs paid to Rolls-Royce for each V1650 were being increased by Britain after the war. It therefore negotiated in August 1945 with the Allison division of the General Motors Corporation for a new version of the Allison V1710-100 engine. This forced North American to switch subsequent production P-82C and later models to the lower-powered engines. It was found that Allison-powered P-82 models demonstrated a lower top speed and poorer high-altitude performance than the earlier Merlin-powered versions. The earlier P-82B models were designated as trainers, while the C and later models were employed as fighters, making the P-82 one of the few aircraft in U.S. military history to be faster in its trainer version than the fighter version. In 1948, the 3,200th Proof Test Group at Eglin AFB, Florida, fitted the fourth F-82B twin Mustang, 44 to 65,163, with retractable pylons under the outer wings capable of mounting 10 high-velocity air rockets, HVAR, each, which folded into the wing undersurface when not in use. This installation was not adopted on later models, the standard tree being used instead. The 13th aircraft, 44 to 65,171, was experimentally fitted with a center wing-mounted pod housing an array of recon cameras, and was assigned to the 3,200th Photo Test Squadron, being designated, unofficially, the RF-82B. Record-setting. On February 27, 1947, P-82B 44 to 65,168, named Betty Joe and flown by Colonel Robert E. Thacker, made history when it flew non-stop from Hawaii to New York without refueling, a distance of 5,051 miles, 8,129 kilometers, in 14 hr 32 minutes. It averaged 347.5 miles per hour, 559.2 kilometers per hour. This flight tested the P-82S range. The aircraft carried a full internal fuel tank of 576 U.S. gallons, 2,180 liters, 480 imp-gal, augmented by 4,310 U.S. gal, 1,173 liters, 258 imp-gal, tanks for a total of 1,816 U.S. gal, 6,874 liters, 1,512 imp-gal. Also, Colonel Thacker forgot to drop 3 of his external tanks when their fuel was expended, landing with them in New York. To this day, it remains the longest non-stop flight ever made by a propeller-driven fighter, and the fastest such a distance has ever been covered in a piston-engined aircraft. The record for the longest unrefueled flight by a propeller-driven aircraft of any type is held by the Rutan Voyager. The aircraft chosen was an earlier B model powered by Rolls-Royce Merlin engines. See survivors below. Operational history. The twin Mustang was developed at the end of the prop-driven fighter era and at the dawn of the jet age. Its designed role as a long-range fighter escort was eliminated by the atomic bombing of Japan and the sudden end of World War II. With the rapid drawdown of the armed forces after the war, the newly established United States Air Force had little money for new prop-driven aircraft, especially since jets, such as the Messerschmitt Me 262 and other Luftwaffe fighters, had been faster than P-51 Mustangs in the skies of Germany in late 1944. The completed airframes, less engines, of the P-82 pre-production aircraft already manufactured by North American went into storage, with an uncertain future. However, during the 1947 Soviet Aviation Day display at Tushino Airport, a surprise appearance was put in by 3 Boeing B-29s, followed by a fourth 4-engined long-range strategic bomber. It was an example of the Tupolev Tu-4, which was a reverse-engineered copy of the B-29 Superfortress, 3 examples of which were known to have been interned in the Soviet Union after having been forced to land there during bombing raids against Japan in World War II. Since the USSR was expected to have nuclear weapons sooner or later, the appearance of the Soviet Tu-4 was a shock to U.S. military planners, since it meant that the U.S. mainland might soon be vulnerable to a potential Soviet nuclear attack from the air. Until jet interceptors could be developed and put into service, the twin Mustangs already built were seen as an interim solution to SAC's fighter escort mission for its strategic bomber force and also as an all-weather air defense interceptor. Early attempts to develop jet-powered all-weather fighters ran into a series of snags and delays. The Curtiss-Wright XF-87 Black Hawk had been ordered in December 1945, but it ran into developmental difficulties and the project was eventually totally abandoned in October 1948. The Northrop P-89 Scorpion was deemed to have greater promise, but it too ran into teething troubles and did not show promise of entering service until 1952 at the earliest. Due to the lack of any suitable jet-powered replacement, the wartime Northrop P-61 Black Widow night fighter was forced into this role, and in order to help fill in the gap until the Scorpion could be available, night fighter adaptations of the piston-engined North American P-82 Twin Mustang were developed and deployed. On June 11, 1948, the newly formed United States Air Force eliminated the P for Pursuit category and replaced it with F for Fighter. Subsequently, all P-82s were redesignated F-82. Strategic Air Command. The F-82E was the first model to reach operational squadrons and its initial operational assignment was to the Strategic Air Command 27th Fighter, later Fighter Escort, Wing at Kearney Air Force Base, Nebraska in March 1948. During World War II, the P-51 Mustang had escorted Boeing B-17 Flying Fortress and consolidated B-24 Liberator bombers from bases in England and southern Italy to targets throughout Nazi-occupied Europe. However, the Cold War brought on the challenge of possible B-29, Boeing B-50 or Convair B-36 bomber missions into the Soviet Union. The sheer size of the Soviet Union dictated that a bombing mission would be a 12-hour affair there and back from bases in Europe or Alaska, most of it over Soviet territory. Also the weather, which was bad enough in Western Europe, would make bombing missions impossible over the Soviet Union between October and May. With no long-range jet fighters yet available to perform escort missions for the Strategic Bomber Force, the mission of the 27th FU was to fly these long-range missions with their F-82Es. The F-82E had a range of over 1,400 miles, 2,300 kilometers, which meant that with external fuel tanks it could fly from London to Moscow, loiter for 30 minutes over the target, and return, the only American fighter which could do so. It also had an operational ceiling of 40,000 feet, 12,200 m, where it could stay close to the bombers it was designed to protect. The first production F-82Es reached the 27th in early 1948, and almost immediately the group was deployed to McChord AFB, Washington, in June, where its squadrons stood on alert on a secondary air defense mission due to heightened tensions over the Berlin airlift. It was also believed that the 27th would launch an escort mission, presumably to the Soviet Union, if conflict broke out in Europe. From McChord, the group flew its twin Mustangs on weather reconnaissance missions over the Northwest Pacific, but problems were encountered with their fuel tanks. Decommissioned F-61 Black Widow external tanks were found at Hamilton AFB, California, which could be modified for the F-82, fitted on the pylons of the twin Mustang. These solved the problem. With a reduction in tension, the 27th returned to its home base in Nebraska during September, where the unit settled down to transition flying with their aircraft. 4 F-82s were deployed from McChord to Alaska, where the pilots provided transition training to the 449th Fighter, All-Weather, Squadron, which used twin Mustangs in the air defense mission. They remained in Alaska for about 45 days, returning to rejoin the rest of the group at the beginning of November 1948. In January 1949, 8th Air Force planned a large celebration at Carswell Air Force Base. All of its assigned units were to participate in a coordinated flyover. Most of the Strategic Air Command's bombers were to participate, along with its only long-range fighter group, the 27th. The weather in Nebraska was horrible, with most airports in the Midwest forced to close on the day of the display. Kearney Air Force Base was hit with a blizzard, and paths were cut, though the snow allowing the F-82s to take off and rendezvous with the bombers. This was seen as proof of the F-82's capabilities in bad weather. In early 1949, the 27th began carrying out long-range escort profile missions. Flights to Puerto Rico, Mexico, the Bahamas, and non-stop to Washington, D.C. were carried out. For President Truman's 1949 inauguration, the 27th FU launched 48 aircraft to fly in review, along with several other fighter units, in formation down Pennsylvania Avenue. Another flyover of the newly dedicated Idlewild Airport in New York City soon followed, with the aircraft flying non-stop from Kearney AFB. In March 1949, Kearney AFB was closed, primarily for budgetary reasons, and the 27th FU was reassigned to Bergstrom AFB, Texas. Other long-range missions were flown cross-country, and simulated dogfights with Lockheed F-80 Shooting Star units were carried out. The 27th FU began transitioning to the Republic F-84 Thunderjet beginning in March 1950, and the F-82ES were largely declared surplus, with the last twin Mustangs being phased out by September. A few were sent to Far East Air Forces for combat in Korea, and a few were sent to Alaska to fly bomber escort missions over the Arctic from LAT AFB until 1953. The majority were sent to reclamation and were gone by 1952. With the appearance of the MiG-15 over the skies of North Korea in late 1950, the B-29, as well as all of the propeller-driven bombers in the U.S. Air Force inventory, were simply rendered obsolete as strategic offensive weapons. The straight-winged F-84GS used in Korea as bomber escorts were ineffective against the MiG, and it took the swept-wing North American F-86 Sabre to clear the skies. It was clear that it would take a new generation of swept-wing jet bombers, able to fly higher and faster, to effectively defeat the defense of the jet-propelled MiG-15 or subsequent Soviet-designed interceptors. Also, the era of large groups of bombers flying in formations to a strategic target ended after the Korean War. Strategic bombing evolved into a one-plane, one-target affair, with the jet-equipped and nuclear-armed Boeing B-52 Stratofortress flying higher and faster than most enemy interceptors. The escort fighter concept became redundant, and by 1957 SAC had inactivated the last of its strategic fighter escort wings. Air Defense Command. The appearance of the Soviet Tupolev Tu-4 copy of the Boeing B-29 Superfortress in 1947 posed a new threat to post-war USAF planners, and largely as a result of its appearance and the beginnings of the Cold War in 1948, led to the establishment of Air Defense Command, ADC, as part of the post-war United States Air Force. In 1947, the embryonic ADC was not particularly effective. During a number of simulated raids on the United States carried out by Strategic Air Command during the period 1947–1949, defending F-51 Mustangs and F-47 Thunderbolts, being used as interceptors, repeatedly failed to find the incoming bombers, even when they knew they were on their way, and seldom got themselves into position to shoot them down. Furthermore, when they did so, the bombers, usually B-29 Superfortresses, had already made their runs over the intended targets of New York City, Los Angeles, Seattle, Chicago, and St. Louis. It was found that the radar-equipped wartime Northrop P-61 Black Widow night fighter was effective in locating and attacking the incoming SAC bombers, and also had the range to attack the bombers far from their intended targets. In the late 1940s, there were no suitable Jet US interceptors yet developed, so the P-61 was transitioned into the ADC interceptor mission. The F-61s available, however, were largely war-weary, and the night fighter F-82C/D models were modified into an all-weather interceptor to replace them. The production interceptor versions of the Twin Mustang were designated the F-82F and F-82G. The distinguishing feature between the F and G models was largely the nacelle beneath the center wing that housed radar equipment, F-82F SN/APG-28 and F-82G SSCR-720C-18. In addition, the interceptor version required numerous modifications. The right side cockpit was replaced with a radar operator's position without flight controls. A long radar pod, resembling a sausage and irreverently known as a long dong, was attached to the underside of the center wing, below the 6.50-inch machine guns and with its dish in front of the propellers to prevent signal interference. This unconventional arrangement was found not to affect the aircraft's performance seriously. Additionally, the unit could be jettisoned in an emergency, or for belly landings it was sometimes even lost during high-G maneuvers. F-82F models were designated for ADC units in the United States, while the F-82G models were deployed to Far East Air Forces for air defense of Japan and Okinawa. No F-82s were deployed to Europe. The first F-82F models began to reach operational ADC squadrons in September 1948. By the end of September, ADC had 29 F-82Fs. By the middle of 1949, the F-82 was replacing Black Widows in service with Air Defense Command along the West Coast at Hamilton AFB, California, 317th FIS, and McChord AFB, Washington, 318th FIS, 319th FIS. East Coast Defense was the mission of the Twin Mustangs assigned to McGuire AFB, New Jersey, 2D FIS, 5th FIS. In addition to the forces in the continental United States, the Caribbean Air Command 319th FIS at France Field in the Panama Canal Zone received 15 F-82Fs in December 1948 to replace their Black Widows for the defense of the Panama Canal. The Twin Mustangs remained in Panama only briefly, being reassigned to McChord AFB in May 1949. The Twin Mustang was phased out of ADC during 1950–1951 by the Lockheed F-94 Starfire, the last being with the 318th FIS at McChord AFB in late 1951. Some were sent to Alaska, where they were modified into the F-82H configuration. Most, however, were sent to reclamation. Far East Air Forces. After World War II, the Northrop P-61 Black Widow was the Far East Air Forces, FEAF, main interceptor. However, a lack of spare parts and maintenance issues made it difficult to keep the war-weary aircraft in the air. Until an all-weather jet interceptor became available, the F-82G Twin Mustang was seen as the interim solution. The last operational P-61s were sent by the 68th and 339th Fighter, all-weather, squadrons to the reclamation yard at Tachikawa Air Base in February 1950, with Twin Mustangs arriving as replacement aircraft. In Far East Air Forces, there were 3 squadrons operating the Twin Mustang, consisting of 45 aircraft. The 4th Fighter, all-weather, squadron was attached to the 51st Fighter Interceptor Wing at Naha Air Base, Okinawa, tasked with providing air defense within the 20th Air Force's area of responsibility during darkness and inclement weather. The 68th F.A.S. area would cover southern Japan from their base at Itazuke and the 8th Fighter Bomber Wing, with the 339th F.A.S. covering Tokyo and northern Japan from Johnson Air Base. FEAF had about 40 Twin Mustangs assigned to the command. With the outbreak of the Korean War in June 1950, the F-82 was pressed into combat duty. At 4 o'clock on June 25, 1950, 68th Fighter Squadron F-82 aircrews on alert at Itazuke Air Base were told that North Korea had crossed the 38th parallel. They were ordered to fly to the area and report any activity on the main roads and railroads. They arrived to find overcast conditions, with cloud tops at 8,000 feet, 2,400 m. The twin Mustangs flew through the clouds using radar and broke out at 2,000 feet, 610 m, heading for Kimpo Airfield near Seoul. The pilots observed huge convoys of North Korean trucks and other vehicles, including 58 tanks, which had crossed into South Korea. The crews flew back through the clouds to Atazuk Air Base, where they were debriefed by a U.S. Army colonel from General Douglas MacArthur's staff. This reconnaissance flight is considered to be the first United States air combat mission of the Korean War. With this information, along with other intelligence reports available to them, FEAF confirmed that the Korean People's Army had, indeed, launched a full-scale invasion of South Korea. FEAF's first priority, however, was to evacuate United States citizens. On the morning of June 26, the nearby Norwegian freighter Reinhold was sent to Incheon harbor to evacuate non-military personnel from Seoul, which lay directly in the invasion route. A flight of twin Mustangs from the 68th F.A.S. was dispatched to the area, arriving at dawn to provide air protection for the evacuation. Two of the F-82s were dispatched to fly over the road from Seoul, while others flew top cover over the Incheon docks. The patrol went without incident until about 1300, when a pair of Soviet-built aircraft, the exact aircraft type has never been determined, came out of the clouds. Orders given to the F-82 pilots prohibited any aggressive action, however, gun switches were activated when the enemy leader tightened up his turn and peeled off at the F-82s with his wingman in close tail. The F-82s dropped their external tanks, turned on combat power and started a climbing turn towards the North Korean aircraft. For some reason, the North Korean leader fired while too far away, with his bullets falling short of the F-82s, which then pulled up into the clouds and above the overcast, putting them in a position to return fire if the North Koreans followed them. However, they did not, and no further contact was made for the rest of the day. The evacuation at Incheon was successfully carried out with a total of 682 civilians being transported to Sasebo, Japan. Once the bulk of U.S. civilians had been evacuated out of South Korea by ship, the priority of FEAF changed to a military nature. The 339th F.A.S. received orders from 5th Air Force to move all available aircraft, along with crews and equipment, to Atazuk Air Base to assist the 68th in providing air cover for the evacuation of Seoul. However, the 339th's complement of aircraft were scattered over several bases at the time. 7 F-82s at Yokota were flyable and 2 were in the hangar undergoing maintenance for major repairs. 4 other F-82s were at Misawa on TDY. The 3 at Yokota were dispatched immediately to Atazuk, as well as the 4 at Misawa, making a total of 7 combat-ready F-82gs present for duty on June 27. The 68th F.A.S. had a total of 12 operational F-82gs. This, combined with what the 339th could contribute, was insufficient to meet the combat needs thrust upon FEAF. The F-80 Shooting Star was available, but its thirsty jet engine meant it could only remain over the airfield for a few minutes before having to return to base, and it could not reach the forward combat area from Japan. No U.S. Air Force P-51 Mustangs were available, and the British Commonwealth had not yet made a decision to commit to combat in Korea, making the presence of Australian Mustangs in Japan academic at this critical situation. FEAF ordered 20th Air Force to send 8 F-82s from its 4th F.A.S. from Okinawa to Atazuk, making a total of 27 F-82s available for combat duty. This was commendable, considering that on May 31, 1950 a total of 32 F-82s existed within FEAF. With these combined squadrons, the 347th Provisional Fighter Group, was formed. Before dawn on June 27, the 347th Provisional Group was up in the air over Korea, with a mission to provide cover for the Douglas C-54 Skymaster transports flying in and out of Kimpo Airfield as they moved the last civilians out. Fearing that the North Korean Air Force might try to shoot down the transport, a C-54 had been destroyed on the ground at Kimpo by North Korean fighters on June 25. The Air Force requested air cover to protect the aircraft during takeoff. Fortunately, 339th Fighter All-Weather Squadron, F.A.S., with their F-82GS were based at Yokosuka and the 68th F.A.S. was based at Itazuka, Japan. With Lieutenant Colonel John F. Sharp in command, 27 F-82GS of the 35 in Japan answered the call. Arriving in the early morning, they orbited Kimpo Airfield in 3 flights, each above the other. Suddenly, at 1150 hours, a mixed group of 5 North Korean fighters, Soviet-built Yak-9S, Yak-11S, and La-7S, appeared, heading for the airfield. One of the Yak-11S immediately scored several hits on 68th F.A.S. pilot Lieutenant Charles Moran's vertical stabilizer. Moments later, Lieutenant William G. Skeeter Hudson, also of the 68th F.A.S., initiated a high G turn to engage the Yak, and soon was closing in on the Yak's tail. He then fired a short burst at close range, scoring hits with his 6.50-inch machine guns. The Yak banked hard to the right, with the F-82G in close pursuit. A second burst hit the Yak's right wing, setting the gas tank on fire and knocking off the right flap and aileron. The North Korean pilot bailed out, but his observer, who was either dead or badly wounded, remained in the doomed aircraft. Parachuting down to Kimpo Airfield, the North Korean pilot was immediately surrounded by South Korean soldiers. Surprisingly, he pulled out a pistol and began firing at them. The South Korean soldiers returned fire, killing him. Moments later, Lieutenant Moran shot down an La-7 over the airfield, while a few miles away, Major James W. Little, commanding officer of the 339th F.A.S., shot down another La-7. The C-54 was able to escape safely. 3 of the 5 North Korean aircraft had been shot down, with pilot Lieutenant William G. Skeeter Hudson and radar operator Lieutenant Carl Fraser scoring the first United States aerial kill of the Korean War. Considering these crews had not been extensively trained in air-to-air gunnery, they came out of combat looking very good. It is generally believed that the aircraft Hudson and Fraser flew that day was an F-82G named Bucket of Bolts, 46-383, as their usual aircraft was down for repairs. Bucket of Bolts would survive the Korean War and eventually be reassigned to escort duty in Alaska. It is believed to have been scrapped at Ladd-AFB, Alaska in 1953. In the following weeks, the F-82 pilots would exceed all expectations in aerial combat. On June 28, orders came down for all F-82s to be used in heavy ground support against any North Korean activity found between the front lines and the 38th parallel. Every F-82 which could be made ready for flight was pressed into combat service. Although 5th Air Force needed every available aircraft to slow down the North Korean invasion force, it was hard to justify the release of all F-82s from their defensive responsibilities for the many key bases in Japan. It was decided to release all F-82s for combat except for a flight which was deployed from the 4th F.A.S. in Okinawa to Japan and a full squadron of F-80s for air defense. On June 30, FEAF requested HQ U.S. Air Force for an additional 21 F-82 aircraft, which was denied. In addition, the projected level of support which could be provided at the level of combat usage FEAF was experiencing was no more than 60 days due to a shortage of parts. The fact was that, when F-82 production ended in April 1948, no provision had been made for an adequate supply of spare parts, as the aircraft was not expected to remain in operational service once jet-powered aircraft were available. Further, the Air Force simply did not have that many F-82s in the first place, 182 total operational aircraft, and did not want to weaken the F-82 units committed to the Pacific Northwest or Atlantic coast, or to draw from the 14 F-82HS in Alaska. This was a heavy blow to FEAF planners, as they wanted to use the F-82 for escorting B-26 invaders deep into North Korea and for searching out ground targets along the Han River. Making do with what they had was the order of the day, and maintenance crews were cannibalizing everything in sight in order to keep the maximum number of F-82s airborne. During the period 26–30 June, the 68th Squadron flew 35 combat sorties, averaging 5 hours per sortie, with the 339th flying similar numbers of missions. During those early days, the stress and strain of combat put on the crews was intense. However, by early July the chances of F-82s engaging in air-to-air combat was significantly reduced, as the F-80 Shooting Stars had effectively stopped North Korea's Air Force from coming below the 38th parallel. The F-82s began flying strike and escort missions, along with NIG.
Please subscribe and thanks for watching.